Hello, everyone. If you are seeing this video, that tells me that you may have made it through part one. So, this is the beginning of part two. First and foremost, thank you guys so much for your support, for sharing, commenting on my posts, and for the people who went on my YouTube and subscribing. I am trying to build that up, so I appreciate your support on that. And also to Jim, who is an appraiser. Again, this is the second half, well, part two. So if you saw the first half, it had a lot of good information in it. I had over 20 minutes of good information coming from an appraiser who actually works in the field. He's worked in the field for 25 years. So again, if you haven't checked out part one, definitely check out part one. And without further ado, here is part two. Who determines the price as far as how much does the buyer pay for an appraisal?
So when someone orders an appraisal, a bank goes to the AMC. The AMC would then send us an email and say, "Hey, we have an appraisal on Spring Hill Drive, and we'd like you to do it. We have a turnaround time. We need it back in 5 days, and we're willing to pay $350." And so if we can do all of that, if we can meet the turn time based on how busy we are, if we like the fee, then we accept the order and then go from there.
Okay, so a couple of things that he said in there. So one is that they accept the appraisal, which comes from the bank orders it, and then once it gets assigned, what is the process? How does that go from the time that the appraisal is assigned to you to the time that you turn it into the bank? What are you doing behind the scenes?
Okay. So banks, mortgage companies, they have what's called a fee panel. So a panel of appraisers. So a new bank might come into town and they need to do appraisals here in this area. They might, who knows if they do a Google search or they get a list from somebody else and they find out all the appraisers in the area. They might send an email out to them and say, "Hey, would you like to get on our appraiser fee panel list?"
Okay.
So typically they have a list of different appraisers, and then there's probably some kind of rules regarding who gets what, but especially because they don't want to only they can't just assign appraisals to the guy who's going to make the value every time.
Yeah.
So if they have 10 people on the list, I think they assign them, as they get them, and the next person gets on the gets the next appraisal. So there's what they call a fee panel.
Okay. All right.
Of appraisers.
Okay. And then walk us through the process. So when it's assigned to you, so when you get that appraisal, what are you doing behind the scenes to get that turned into the bank on time?
Well, because I feel like I'm really smart, I have my wife does that.
Yeah.
So my wife manages my appraisals. She manages my office. So it comes in the email. She looks at it. She looks at our calendar. She decides, hey, we can do this with this fee by this time. So from there, we have to figure out, is the house vacant? Is there a realtor involved? Is there a homeowner at home? So we get in touch with the contact person and tell them who we are and who has ordered this appraisal. And typically, so you're at home and you're selling your house, and John and Jane Smith, they want to buy your house. So we tell them the order that we got.
Okay.
We schedule a time for me to show up. I show up there. In a perfect world, I will have the appraisal done within 48 hours of the time that I'm there. Typically, I send it to the appraisal management company, who has a team of people who look at it prior to sending it back to the lender. Once the lender gets it, they have underwriters. They're going to look at it as well. Sometimes the AMC sends back for a revision. Sometimes the lender sends back for a revision. But yeah, I'm typically on a 48-hour turnaround time from the time I come and see your house.
Okay, so behind the scenes, as far as that go, once it's turned into the lender, for us realtors, and for the buyer, we're kind of just sitting ducks and waiting for that appraisal to come back. From the time that your appraisal is ordered to the time that the lender receives the appraisal and we get it back, either on the buyer or seller side, it's more on the buyer side because the buyer pays for the appraisal. Just make sure to take into consideration that it could be between 1 to 2 weeks. So with that being said, we are going to wrap this video up, but stay tuned because in another video that we're going to do, we're going to talk about the misconceptions about appraisers in the next video. So stay tuned, everyone. And thank you so much again, Jim, for coming out and talking to us about the appraisal process and the home buying process. Thank you guys so much and have a great day.